Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Rendick, and I'm a senior consultant at Nexop and DStream Group. I'm going to be moderating the panel. If I can just ask my first two panelists to come up and join me here. So I have Robert Assink, who is the Managing Director of Digital Realty Spain.
Where do you want me to sit?
Here, next to me is perfect. And I have Octavio Camarena, who is the CEO of CIO Data Centers.
Here.
From Latin America, please. Yes.
That's,
Hello.
you have
Come
the
and sit.
headphones?
Yes, on your chair. There
Here.
you go. There you go, Octavio. So I've invited the first two panelists here. I will be bringing another set of panelists as well. We're going to start off with the more established and classic data centers when we take a look at what's happening in this AI ecosystem. So I'm going to start off here with Digital Realty. We hear that data centers are pushing and evolving from classic or maybe hyperscale data centers, moving to platforms that support AI workloads. So what does this mean for Digital Realty?
Well, the AI has an exponential growth factor. What they demand is X times bigger than what we've been selling so far. We are in a market, in the case of Europe, over 26 years, or almost 26 years. And that was based on let's say, the connectivity play. Yeah? Creating an ecosystem of multiple connectivity segments, and on top of that, other layers of internet digital services. And that was year after year, low single digit or double digit percentage growth. But now we're looking at much higher growth based on a big mass already installed that's been in the market for many years. And on top of that, we now add the layers of AI workloads. We built our data centers and designed them a couple of years ago with certain standards. And now all of a sudden with the AI requirements, they ask much more capacity in the same cabinet. And most of the data centers are engineered for air cooling, but now it could be better served with liquid cooling. And the liquid cooling, okay, we can refurbish the data center, the last ones, but with a faster time to market, some AI players, they take air cooling instead of filling up the whole cabinet with up to maybe, 50 or 80 kilowatts. They install a little bit less power capacity, and we still do the air cooling.
Okay. And so which AI modes and what types of industry segments are you focusing on as Digital Realty?
Yeah, in Digital Realty, we cover the whole span of data centers from, let's say, build to suit, one building with one tenant that is mainly in the US. But in Europe, we come from a different background. Digital Realty bought a company called Interaction, and that was in the co-location play based on that ecosystem on connectivity. So after the connectivity segments, all the network guys, CDNs, and also the POPs, the cloud on-ramps of all the cloud players that came in the market a couple of years ago. We built other segments like digital media, social networks, streaming platforms. And then the last demand stream for a couple of years ago was hyperscalers with the cloud computing platforms. And now it's indeed that the AI is coming into play.
Okay. And so you're going to both inference and training are interesting for Digital Realty. Is this?
Yeah, mainly we add more value if there's inference. Yeah? Typically in AI, we have data lake, training, and then inference. Data lake and training can be done, for example, here in Sines, and a little bit farther away from where the population lives, where the economy takes place. But our data centers, and that's also where we want to grow, and we still invest, is in places close to the population, where the eyeballs are, where the GDP is, where the economic activity is. So mainly it's inference place, AI, inference.
Okay. So speaking of connectivity, because you just mentioned that, the connectivity fabric, from what I understand, is as important as the actual physical facilities of data centers. Is this, is South Europe where it needs to be for this, for AI?
I believe what I hear from other in presentations and what we read in the press on AI and the big plans that have been announced in different places all over the peninsula, it's all announcements, and most of it is based on data lake or data training, because that is, let's say, latency agnostic, and that can be in anywhere, can be in the middle of nowhere, and probably they can live with cheaper land with a lot of capacity of the grid, electricity grid, but the connectivity, you're not gonna. We always compare it with international airports. You're not going to build an international airport in the middle of nowhere. You build it where the people, where the economy is. And I believe, but it's still early to say, that AI is going to follow the same path. When we talk about continents, I believe in the US they're ahead with AI data lake and data training. I believe in Q3 this year, 8 gigawatts of data center capacity was sold for AI. And by the way, it was the main contributor to economic growth in the US. If that would not have taken place in terms of investment, the economic growth in the US would only have been 0.1%, I believe. So AI now is taking place in the US with real deployments. In Europe, I believe that we are a little bit behind, and we will not see that it's going to be an AI deployment in such huge quantities as what we've seen so far in the US.
Okay, so we take a look at like positioning, location, connectivity coming together. When we take a look at South Europe, we've got a great undersea cable ecosystem happening here. This has the potential to make, Iberia an AI hub. So what's the future here?
Yes and no. I mean, AI, if you look at the statistics of DKIX, I believe you haven't seen a lot of growth because of the AI on your platforms. And because AI, if it only stays in a data center, there's no bandwidth, no data that needs to be exchanged or travel across those subsea cables or terrestrial networks. So it's only the decisions that are made at the inference place, that's where the connectivity needs to be. So subsea cables, yes, but not so much related to where data lake and data training is. It's more data lake and data training. AI is power and large capacities of big data centers. Yeah? Not so much connectivity. But again, the peninsula of Iberia is indeed in a very good location when it comes to this international internet highway connecting the Atlantic coast with the Mediterranean and then the Asia Pacific. But there was a report this summer of McKinsey where they mentioned the expected data center capacity to grow till 2031. I believe it was 124 gigawatts of IT capacity in the whole world. A third of it is non-AI. Yeah? So, and 2/3 is AI. And of the 2/3 of AI, the vast capacity is data lake and data training.
Okay. So where can we expect the digital realty build-outs for AI here in Southern Europe?
We build out where we are to build that community, and some of it will indeed be for AI, but inference. And we are not building out large campuses of multiple hundreds of megawatts. We do smaller campuses, build that ecosystem with multiple megawatts, not hundreds of megawatts.
Okay.
So we are typically in the major metro areas.
Okay. All right. So then what do you see your biggest challenges like in becoming AI ready?
We are AI ready in terms of the engineering part and the AI inference. What they seek is our connectivity, that ecosystem. Yeah, the digital services that are delivered because of AI can be distributed with the lowest latency possible. So we are AI ready. And the challenge that we have is getting more electricity from the grid. In places where where typically more population and the electricity grid is not easily available. And now, especially in Spain, there's more political ideology that dictates where the data centers need to be built. And we believe that the demand should say where the electricity needs to be delivered, and the politicians say the opposite.
Ah, okay. So the the truth probably lies somewhere in between,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
okay, okay. So when we consider Kio data centers, AI development in Latin America, what are the plans to prepare for AI workloads there?
I believe in Latin America, we really should set the tone first to understand that there's really no AI developments yet.
Okay.
People just this huge buzzword about these things happening is really not happening yet. And I believe there's going to be two centers for that. One definitely is going to be Brazil, and the other one is going to be Mexico. I don't foresee any other particular areas growing that fast. But I do believe Brazil serving the southern part of the continent, and Mexico serving Mexico, Central America, and then what you call NOLA, the northern part of South America.
Okay. All right. And so which AI modes are you focusing on?
We're also focusing on primarily on inference, very similar to what you were discussing. I believe the necessities for the training part are probably going to be still developed in the US and in China. I mean, you're going to see these huge AI models being hosted and served in the US and China. I don't foresee that training going everywhere in the world, really. And inference is what really is going to be spreading apart closer to the eyeballs, very similar to your business model, closer to the eyeballs for latency reasons and for also for understanding the market. So I definitely think inference is going to be the play for us.
Okay. And so, you know, with your proximity to the U.S., because, I mean, you have data center operations in Mexico, Colombia, Panama, Guatemala, even in the Caribbean and Dominican Republic. You're quite scattered around LATAM there. But you've got some proximity to the U.S. Do you see any opportunities in LATAM, like for AI space there and your relationships
And
there?
let me tell you this. A couple of months ago, probably half a year ago, we were talking to a hyperscaler, a U.S. hyperscaler. And before the current administration in the U.S. arrived, they were really thinking about doing some training in Mexico. You know, they were thinking about it because they just needed the energy as quickly as possible. We do sense a shift when the current administration have entered the U.S. The U.S. hyperscalers completely focus on the U.S.
Okay.
So that demand stopped. However, the Asians on the country are really, really active, and the Asians are coming very actively to Latin America, at least to Mexico. I don't know what deal in Europe. But we do see that happening, and they want to do some training and also inference.
Okay. All right. So you're seeing that from further afield, not even just from your
Correct.
your neighbors.
Correct.
Okay. So where do you see Latin America's biggest challenges in becoming AI ready?
Here, we should also understand that Latin America is not one continent, one country. It's completely different. Brazil has nothing to do with Mexico.
Yeah.
Brazil, there's plenty of energy, particularly hydro. Mexico, on the contrary, only 8% is hydro, probably 4% is wind, and 4% is solar. So it's very little clean energy in Mexico. And I have to be completely blunt and honest, unlike Brazil. So the challenges in Mexico, number one is getting access to energy, and second, access to clean energy.
Okay.
That's going to be the key for us.
All right. And is that the biggest challenge is the energy?
Absolutely. The biggest energy for us, happily for us, for Kio, we're one of the few players that have been in the market for almost 20-something years. And we have close to half a gig, close to 1 gig ready for AI. We're starting to talk to some players that want to, tap that resource. But definitely for the rest, as a market as a whole, I would definitely say energy is the main challenge.
Okay, energy is the main challenge. And how do you expect your partnerships? I keep hearing that partnerships are something that people are starting to take a look at for this, AI data center deployment. How do you see partnerships moving forward together with Kio data centers?
We have been, unlike a real estate company, et cetera, we have been operating, like you guys, data centers for a long while. So really, the DNA in this is really to operate and manage these huge data centers for a while. For us, we have always been focusing on partnerships. The original partnerships were the carriers, the exchanges, obviously, the real estate companies, and some, obviously, the cooling enterprises, et cetera. Now, what changed with AI is that you have to start partnership now, especially in Mexico, with energy generators right next to the data center. Okay. We never thought about that. We were thinking about how do you connect to the grid. Now, in my mindset, I'm meeting companies that generate energy right there, and it's going to be generated, to my previous point, with natural gas. Okay. It's not going to be, because in Mexico, there's very little hydro. Okay. So we have new partnerships for us, energy generators next door, and obviously the GPUs providers. Okay. Obviously, you have to talk to the NVIDIAs of this world, to the AMDs of this world, because the design, the structure, the architecture is completely different.
Okay.
And for us, the new partnerships are going to be with the chip providers and with the energy generators right there.
All right. So those are your new partners. And are you going to retrofit your data centers the way that Digital Realty is speaking about?
The ones we have right now are going to there's so much growth on the cloud instances per se that the ones that we currently have still have so much demand that we're not going to touch them. The new deployments are going to be based on AI.
Right.
Fortunately for us, cloud is still booming in Mexico.
Okay.
Booming, especially now that the Asian clouds arrived. To begin with, the AWS of this world, etc. They were the first one to reach to Mexico. But once you see the Asians coming in, you see this completely changing the market structure. They're really growing. The fastest growing cloud in the country is not a U.S. company. Okay. It's an Asian U.S. company. It's not the biggest yet, but it's the fastest growing.
But it's fastest growing. And as far as as far as the partnerships for Digital Realty, how are you looking at this?
We have long-standing relationship with the energy companies. We got challenges in that field, but the way to grow our business going forward is with partners in the field, meaning system integrators, network service providers, companies that have access to the enterprise market, that have smaller deployments with AI loads that need to be close to where the networks are. Right. They cannot do the same out of their, let's say, IT room in their own data center or offices. So we foresee that a lot of growth comes from enterprise business related to network and distributing their loads to places where the networks are.
Okay. So what I can see then is that even the established or classic data centers are taking a look at partnerships and looking at the AI with partnerships.
It's impossible to do without partners. We have to have the word ecosystem really plays a role more than ever. That's what I believe.
Yep.
Right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So if I can just bring the other two panelists up onto the stage, if I can just invite them to come up, if we can put their photos up here, and if I can just invite you gentlemen to join us.
They can't hear you yet.
They can't, right. If you can come join me here. Andrew J. from CBRE. Right,
thank you, Paul.
Have a seat here. Ismael Clemente.
It's a pleasure.
From Merlin Properties. Please join me here, gentlemen. Yep. So up until now, we've been talking to the maybe more classic or established data center operators, right? So when we take a look at this market, we see that, we've got companies like Crusoe, which I look at as an energy company. Then you've got companies like CoreWeave, which, concentrate on the GPU and fitting out these new AI data centers. Both of these are actually building out massively large data centers, right? So we can see that we've got new entrants in the market coming on board. But what might be a little less obvious is when we take a look at commercial real estate investment trusts or investment companies entering the data center market. So the two gentlemen that I've just brought on board here are representing probably new entrants into this market. So I just wanted to have a focus on these gentlemen for a moment, if I could. If I take a look at this, the commercial real estates, if I can start here with Merlin Properties, you were mainly a commercial real estate investment company, right? Recently, you've pivoted into the data center market. You have, I believe, 3 data centers currently operational, right? And now we see that Merlin Edge is moving swiftly along into AI data center infrastructure. So why is a commercial real estate company coming into this DC market?
Well, because the commercial real estate market is very much related also to infrastructure. At the end, we provide infrastructure to real life businesses like companies or shopping. And we started a long time ago, around 2014, to develop logistics. It's a little bit in the intersection between infrastructure and commercial real estate. And little by little, we built a significant portfolio of logistics that today is probably the biggest in the Iberian Peninsula. And with logistics came the data centers, because at the end, you own industrial land, which in some cases is powered, So we started thinking about what to do with that land because we saw that, of course, it was valuable. It was more valuable, it had more value added than simply doing logistics on it. And also, if you look at the US, Equinix and Digital Realty are REITs, real estate investment trusts.
Sure.
I mean, yes, they do infrastructure,
Sure.
but they have been created as real estate investment trusts. So at the end, there is a clear intersection between infrastructure and commercial real estate here, and we are simply trying to win our fair market share of it.
Okay. So how are you positioning yourself in the market here?
Well, we arrived relatively late, so we do not have the benefit of, like Equinix, of doing a lot of colo and interconnection. So we anticipated a long time ago that probably the future of the market will be AI and started creating AI-ready data centers. And although they are pretty much versatile and flexible, I mean, we have 2 locations in Madrid and Barcelona that were originally conceived for colo. The other 2 data center campuses, the one here in Lisbon and the one in the Basque Country, were from the very beginning conceived for high density loads and for artificial intelligence. So a little bit of everything, although today we are doing mainly artificial intelligence.
Okay. All right. So if I take a look at this then, like what are your plans then for the AI data center build outs? Is it more the inference? Is it more the training? Where is that focus going to take place for Merlin Edge?
Well, the technology and the future will dictate what happens between inference and model training. It is true that now, as we speak, the vast majority of the demand comes from model training because it's consuming vast quantities of IT capacity, and as such, we are helping that trend by providing facilities where you can train models with the latest technology, with GB200, GB300 Ultra. But in the future, only God knows. I mean, we try to do, even though today with a 200 square meter data hall, you can put in several megawatts of capacity because the density is so high. We still continue doing big data halls just in case.
Okay.
Because in the future, we don't know whether we will need to return to low density servers. I mean, only God knows what the future will bring. So we try, I mean, and concrete is not super expensive.
Okay.
So basically we make our infrastructure as flexible and versatile as we can because we need to be prepared for whatever happens. It is clear that at present, if you are located in Spain, Portugal, with the density of submarine cables we have with the US, you can easily become simply an overflow computing venue for American IT loads, if you want. But well, we are betting, of course, on the autonomy of Europe as an IT continent. But we are prepared for a future in which the submarine cables will reduce more and more the latency, with the only limit of the speed of light. They will reduce the latency, and there will be a moment in which eventually you can do inference from here for the US, for the US for here, because at the end, if you count on the speed of light, it's only 10 milliseconds.
Right. So we've heard from maybe the more classic DC operators what their tenants will look like in these DCs. What do you expect? What verticals do you expect as tenants in your DCs?
Well, basically, you always, when you start in this business, you always worship the hyperscalers. So the first thing you do is you try to get along with the hyperscalers, which
Yes. Be careful what you wish for. There you go. Yeah.
It is not always easy because they are now in the Olympus and throwing rays into planet Earth, and they do not mingle with the humans. Okay, but now their dominance is threatened by the neoclouds.
Okay.
So now the neoclouds are really posing a big threat to their market dominance. And those are the market movers. So today you have to be prepared to be able to deal with hyperscalers when you need to, and with neo clouds when you need to. And there are two different types of personality, two different types of legal contracts, and two different types of deployments. So you need to be prepared for both. But and then verticals at the end are dictated by them, because they are the ones who contract with the final client. Of course, we try always to know who is the final client, if only in order to avoid hostile countries, for example.
Yeah.
But they tell you who their client is, but in reality, they dictate what the vertical they are working in is in your given data center.
Yeah. Okay. So the other panelists have talked about power. Power seems to be our issue here. So how do you balance like AI's power demands with Iberia's kind of grid limitations and the renewable power targets? How are you planning to deal with this?
There are many. Of course, you can have a lot of strategies, but then at the end, in the day-to-day, you have to work a little bit more on tactics, because you need to adapt to a changing market. Well, Iberia is a market in which the main thing works, which is the delta between generation and consumption is very wide. I mean, you take the whole Iberian market is like 600 terawatts generation capacity, and consumption is about 250, 260. So it's not really, there is not really a constraint on power generation capacity. The problem is intermittency of that generation, one, and second, transport of that generation. The grid has been clearly underinvested, because for many years the governments have been obsessed with current spending. They have been simply giving away money because it is more rewarding from a voting perspective in the short term. However, they have not been investing in capex, in infrastructure, because that only bears the fruits in the long term, and maybe the voters are grateful to another politician. So for that reason, we have not been investing a lot in infrastructure. But this is about to change. We need to start investing in the grid. The big countries in Europe are already doing it. So Portugal and Spain will also do it, I'm sure. And that will help a little bit, because at present we are doing all sorts of tricks. We are going right next to where the generation is. We are trying to go off grid in some places. Yeah. We are playing many tricks in order to make sure that we get electricity, because electricity now is a really scarce good.
Okay. I'm hearing this across the board here. And the last bit is we're taking a look at partnerships. I imagine for somebody like Merlin Properties or Merlin Edge, strategic partnerships to make this all work is quite important. So what are you doing in this space as far as partnerships?
We are a relatively young company, and we do not have a lot of ego. So we like partnership. And, we learned our business through a partnership, for which we are extremely grateful. And now we are applying the partnership technique to many aspects of our life. I mean, with the electric installations, with project management, with BMSs, we are partnering, and in some cases taking equity in the companies that furnish us with that kind of services. Okay. And we will continue doing that, because this is a collaborative ecosystem, particularly if you are in the weak part of the ecosystem. Of course, if you are almighty hyperscalers, you don't care about that. But if you are in the weak part of the equation, of course you need to rely on someone else in order to really be able to make your life easier.
Okay. Thank you. And so as for CBRE, I see that you have various activities in the AI data center market. So can you just give us a quick overview of some of the activities in the AI data center space that CBRE is engaging in?
So we're an NVIDIA partner. So we went all in 2 years ago into AI. We saw the opportunity from a data center perspective. We're now at a stage where NVIDIA will use us to help some of their customers, people buying their chips, to find data center space that's suitable, that's deliverable in the right timescales, which is really, really important. We've got a rack and stack group. So not only do we do the acquisition of the data center space, but so what? If you can't get the space up and running, racked and stacked and operating, it's of no use. So we've combined the data center acquisition group with the rack and stack group. So we do all of that as a package, and it works pretty well.
All right, because this is, again, you are another company that comes from the classic, you are probably one of the global leaders really in commercial real estate investment.
The global leader.
Like the
absolutely.
global leader, there you go. And now moving into this AI data center space, and I understand that there's a lot of layers of it as you just mentioned. So if I also take a look at CBRE, there's a notable market research arm inside of CBRE. So where do you see the biggest AI data center hotspots being built out next, according to CBRE?
So, I mean, the first part of your point was really interesting. It's more and more important for CBRE. CBRE, we are the world's biggest real estate service group. I think it was 4 years ago, data center services accounted for 3% of our revenue.
Okay.
This year, it'll be 10%.
Okay.
And it's a higher CAGR on SOP or profit. And so we've suddenly got our global CEO, who I'm not sure he'd mentioned the word data center for several years. In his earnings call on Thursday, within 2 minutes, he'd mentioned data centers twice.
Oh, wow.
So it just shows, just from a regular, albeit large real estate service firm, suddenly AI and data centers are forming a massive part of our world. So in terms of the locations, Nordics, so if from a European context, Europe's, why Nordics? It's got lots of available power. Okay. I feel I've been stitched up because I'm the last to speak out of four. You've already said they all talked about power, but
yes.
It's totally power driven. Nordics, availability of power, and it's cheap. Mm-hmm. Talking 3.5 euro cents a kilowatt hour, circa. Okay. That's fantastic. Next in line for power pricing and availability is Iberia.
Okay.
So you've got Madrid and Portugal. We're familiar with the schemes. You guys have been. You say you were late to the party. From a general data center space point of view, I suppose you were. But from an AI perspective, look what you've done just in the last 12 months with some of the leasings you've done, and that's because you've had the data center inventory up and ready. So this point about speed is so important. You've been able to fulfill. So Iberia is really, really important. France is just starting, so it's behind, but it's starting to come through. Part of that's because of the government intervention.
And why France?
Well, France has got a lot of nuclear power, and it's relatively cheap, but not as cheap as Iberia.
Okay.
But it's a lot cheaper than, say, Germany or the UK.
Okay.
So given the power intensity of the equipment that we're installing, then the cost of operating, and these guys are not like most old data centers, they're operated at 35, 45, maybe 50% if you were lucky of the capacity that they were paying for. These guys are ramping it up to 90%.
Okay.
So they use it, therefore the cost of the power becomes incredibly important.
Okay, now take us out of Europe. What's next? What are hotspots moving around there?
So the one
in that Atlantic corridor, if you can, or keep a little bit to that space, is very interesting. Actually.
So I was just about to say the Middle East.
Oh right,
which is not Atlantic corridor,
no.
but that's an example where they've got cheap power, an awful lot of money, and a lot of ambition.
Okay.
From an Atlantic corridor point of view, I'm going to give a really lame answer to this, which is, we've talked about the established locations.
Yeah.
I know, because when we chatted, we talked about, say, Marseille, and I don't really see that from an AI perspective. It's so difficult to build data centers in Marseille. It's a lot of people just saying, why on earth would we? It's path of least resistance and speed. So I think we're going to see a bunch of new AI data centers being built in places that you've perhaps never even heard of at this stage.
All right.
Because people are finding the power first, and then they're working back from there.
Oh, wow.
So there'll be
power.
Literally places that you're
putting that at number one.
Oh, crumbs, absolutely. Buy but by a massive margin. And also it's timing. So it's fine saying, well, they've got power, but if they can't deliver it within 18 to 24 months, then forget it.
Okay.
An AI company is not capable of planning beyond 24 months for anything.
Okay.
So they have, if
That's about the time it takes to build a data center.
and most of them are ringing us up and saying, we want something in the case that we almost did one with you, didn't we? We need it, and they'll be start to finish something like 4 or 5 weeks
Okay.
to closing a contract. So, which is extraordinary.
Okay. So clearly there's a list of criteria that you run through. I understand. We all understand powers at the top, right? Can you run us through, summarize, what is that criteria list that everyone looks at when they're bringing out the
It's
AI
power.
data center baby?
It's power, then it's power, and then it's power. So, power capacity
Okay.
is a prerequisite.
Okay.
We've then got power timing. So can it be delivered? And these are obviously just go, no go situations. Power pricing, massively important. Then you'd have general speed to market. And this comes to, and again, gosh, Merlin, you've been brilliant because you've actually speculatively built and flipping heck, that's not easy. The capital involved to speculatively
Absolutely.
build, data centers.
It's crazy.
And I sit as an advisor and I kind of laugh sometimes. Like, it's not my money, but I'm not bad at what I do, but I kind of know sometimes you've got to speculatively build, but it's millions and millions. Look at Start Campus. That's done very well, doing very well because they speculatively built.
Right.
Merlin has done brilliantly because they spec built. So speed is the absolute key, and then it's capital.
Okay.
So capital, we're talking 12 million a megawatt. We bandy these 100 megawatt schemes. Well, do the maths. That's 1.5 billion euros, dollars, virtually the same thing these days.
Right.
In anybody's book, that's a lot of capital to
Access
raise.
to capital.
And so the thing that's different today is not only do you need that capital, but they're not just going to give it to you. You're in the big guys league now
Yep.
at $1.5 billion plus. They're not going to give it to someone who's messing about,
Yeah.
who's not done this before or hasn't got an incredible story. So the other criteria is having a really good team who have got demonstrable track record and capability to deliver now that they need this amount of capital.
Okay. And I presume that happens with partnerships because I can see that, like, you rarely will you find one organization or one company that can actually deliver all of this. So, you're looking at partnerships in that area. So what does the Atlantic region need to do to take the lead, in your opinion, in AI data center build out?
So my biggest concern,
Yeah.
to flick it the other way, is these countries either running out of power,
Yeah.
or we've seen in some countries where governments have decided in their, I'm going to say wisdom, that's probably the wrong word, they've just decided unilaterally, we don't like data centers.
Right.
So you take Holland, and specifically 2 municipalities in Amsterdam have just said, look, we're not going to have any more data centers.
Yeah.
Look at the restrictions that these people are placing on data center development. You go back to this path of least resistance. So as long as Iberia can keep the power supply there and get it distributed broadly to where it's needed, and they can keep free of undue regulation, and they're broadly speaking, supportive of data centers, they see it as a good thing, then I think they will continue to be successful. And I think this is absolutely the start of it, and it's literally only just started.
Andrew, this is funny because, the D-Stream Group, the company I work for, has actually produced quite a lot of studies on digital hubs, right? And everybody wants to know, every city wants to be a digital hub. And it's funny, you actually listed a lot of the criteria you would need to be a digital hub today. Access to capital, infrastructure, all of these pieces, the know-how, retaining the talent, getting these pieces. It's almost following the current kind of digital hub, path, if I may.
And in some respects, it's not complicated.
Right.
In some respects, it's incredibly complicated, but at this high level, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, network, of course, we need and we're uniquely placed because of where we are with the subsea cables and things. But those other factors, they kind of trump everything.
All right, wonderful. So now I've just got like a couple of really quick questions for all of you, just some general questions. Like, first of all, can the DC market keep up with the demands of AI? Just very quick, short answers, if whoever would like to take this.
Yes. Did you hear Sam Altman? I think it was last week. He was talking about how long it takes to build a gigawatt. And at the moment, I'm making this up a little bit, but he said it was like a year. He's got a roadmap to get that down to a month, and he wants to get it down to a week.
Okay.
And the way he's doing that is by modularization. It's systemization, so having a system with a bunch of specific supply chain people who will provide the same kit to all of the different data centers. You can't have someone making it up from scratch. So learning from what you've done before, systemizing, standardizing. And, the thing that's amazed me is adversity is the mother of all invention, something like that. Nearly there, wasn't it? Yes. Ismail's cleverer than I am. He'll correct me. But it'd be amazing what people have done to date over 2 years in AI, and I think they'll nail it over the next 5 years.
Yeah, there you go. And so we see that, many DC operators have very comprehensive ESG, environmental, social governance programs. What is this going to look like when AI comes into the mix?
If I can jump in really, and being the contrarian or the realistic, at least for us in the energy side, in Mexico it's going to be very difficult to really be up there with the energy supply without. We only have 20% of it green. It's going to be very, very complex, at least for Mexico, to be able to compete without really tapping into natural gas resources and generating right next to the data center, like Ismail was saying.
Okay, and is that the same for others in LATAM?
Not Brazil. Not Brazil. Mm-hmm. Brazil is a completely different story. That's why we should emphasize that Latin America is not one hub.
Yep.
Brazil has nothing to do with Mexico,
Sure.
and people tend to confuse that and talk about Latin America like if it's one country. It's not one country.
No, it is very
But
large.
Octavio, you shouldn't worry about whether the energy comes from one or the other source. I mean, you take as a premise that using a lot of energy is bad. It's not.
Absolutely.
We contribute with our data center, no matter where the energy comes from, to digitalizing the economy. And if we digitalize the economy, we get a cleaner, a more sustainable environment, because a digital service gives a service that replaces a conventional thing with a lot more emission of greenhouse or CO2, etc.
So there will be a return at some stage along
we have to
path,
destigmatize this because it's going to happen anyway. And we have to be completely realistic. That's right.
Okay.
We are 100% renewable energy, but that's nice to say.
Yes.
But the more important thing is what's taking place inside that data center, and that helps to contributing to a cleaner society and a more quality of life, etc., etc. And digitalization is equivalent to sustainability.
Okay, so perhaps that needs to be said a little bit more out there for everyone to see.
I agree.
Last quick question, because we really need to wrap this up. Look, we're all here looking for business opportunities, right? Like that's really what we want to see happening. We want some development happening. We want to see some business going on. So if I can just ask whoever wants to take this question, like, what are the opportunities that are going to exist in kind of teaming up or partnerships with DCs? What can we expect? Who are you looking to partner with?
Generators, energy generators by far, definitely. I mean, it's critical for us. Next door.
Energy is important, but in order to grow the business, we need to get fill the data centers with more than just AI or GPU system, GPU service providers.
Okay.
It's the enterprise in general. So we need to partner with the ones that get access to those enterprises.
Okay.
And by the way, very quickly, and at least in Mexico and Latin America, cloud is still growing like crazy.
Okay.
So you can have an amazing business without AI. So we have two business plans, one with AI and one without AI.
Okay.
So it's
the
really
cloud
good.
operators need to come and see your stand, which is behind this
Absolutely.
wall, right?
Come and get us.
Okay,
Come,
good.
come to Kio.
Fantastic. So anyway, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me. And I know that each one of these gentlemen has told me that they're willing for you to come and approach them. They're happy to chat with you further about any opportunities or what their plans are. So I know that Digital Realty and Kio Data Centers has a stand here. They'd love to see you there. And for the rest, thank you very much for joining our panel. Thank you.
Thank you.